Hey y'all, welcome back to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends take a deep dive into romance novels while extolling their love of the genre and each other. This week, we're finishing up our discussion of Reluctant Royals Book Number 1, A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. Let's get right to it. Hi, Erin.
Hello, Melanie. I just tried to make this really fancy London fog drink, and then I just dropped some shit in it, some paper, and I took so long to make it. I frothed milk. I did everything.
How do you froth milk? Like on the stove?
Well, see, my friend Leslie, we went to dinner, and she told me how to froth milk, and she's like, it's so easy, I'm never going to a coffee shop ever again. I'm now a milk frother. So what you do is you do a French press. You put it in the microwave, or a stove top if you're fancy or British, and then you froth it in a French press. You go with a French press, and it froths it.
After it's hot?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you just like up and down and...
Uh-huh. And then you put some honey and some Earl Grey tea, a couple drops of vanilla.
London fucking fog.
A London fucking fog. And then you try not to drop some Post-its in it as soon as you sit down to do your podcast.
No, see, that is the complication, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
what's up with
I
you?
wonder if that would work with almond milk. I'm going to try that shit.
It just seems less frothy. And when I say milk, I mean half and half, just in case there's somebody out there taking diligent notes on this recipe.
Oh, so you made a London frog breve or something.
What? I don't know. Is that what breve means?
A breve is basically a latte with half and half, I think. That's my understanding of it.
Wait, lattes aren't already with half and half?
No, bitch. You can get a latte with like anything. You can get it with skim. You can get it with 2%.
But like standard issue latte. If I just go up to the Starbucks and say latte, grande,
no.
For me, Erin.
No.
It's milk? It's what?
It's
whole milk?
No, it's not whole milk. It's usually like 2%, I think.
Oh, this is bullshit. This whole time I thought it was the half and half.
You
I thought I was getting
you were
the
just
high-fat
chugging
situation.
half and half?
Yes. Yeah.
Your poor heart. Like, thank
Yeah.
God you weren't getting half and half this whole time.
Well, I don't get lattes. I just assumed. Because that's what sounds so gross about lattes to me. I just thought, like, this whole time, I thought I was getting half and half.
Mang. No.
It's milk. I could get skim milk.
You can absolutely get skim milk.
Maybe you can froth almond milk. I don't know.
I'm going to try it.
All right.
Who knows? I'm going to put it on the stovetop. Yeah, let's quick break.
Put it on the stovetop right now. Sit down. We'll do the podcast, then go get it.
Yeah, listener, you hang in. It'll be about 10 minutes of silence. Erin will perform her one-woman show for you.
Oh, no.
It'll be great.
Melody, it's not ready. It's not ready yet.
Oh, come on. Is it like one of your romance novels that you have locked away? You absolute horror.
Right. It's just not ready. I feel like one-woman shows are never quite ready. Have you ever known anyone that's been writing a one-woman show? It's never going to be ready.
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
And it is always a workshop situation. Yep. Mm-hmm. You're like, dude, just put it down. Put the pen down.
Well, in some ways, you want them to just stop writing the one-woman show and just do it. But in some ways, you know that once it is complete, you will be the person that has to watch it.
Indubitably.
And you don't want that. You don't want the one-woman show, one audience experience.
That was one of my favorite parts of The Big Sick.
Uh-huh.
This constant one-man show
Pakistan,
situation.
1992. Yeah. She's like, oh, God. This is like a PowerPoint about the history of Pakistan.
Yeah. All right. We have...
wait, I want to tell you something. Did you see my post on Facebook today about my socks?
No.
Guys, David got me socks that have pictures of goat and rooster in a pattern on them. Actual goat and actual rooster, like photograph. Let me take one off and hold it up to the...
Oh my God, how did he do that?
Do you see him?
Oh my Lord. That is actual goat and actual rooster.
It's like a company. So if you want to get the most romantic gift for your partner in your life or your sister or whatever, that is the way to go. I'll post it. I don't know the name of it right now. Isn't that the best gift?
That's amazing.
Uh-huh. Yeah. All right. Now I'm ready. I just needed to show you that.
Well, you know what? Thank you for taking our banter into romantic territory. because we have so much romance to get into.
We do. Okay, guys, listen.
I am spirit fingersing right now.
she
I'm
literally
so
is.
excited.
Princess in Theory, which is the title of this book. I didn't make fun of you for that last episode. It was the title, bitch. It was the title the whole time.
Damn it!
Yeah.
Damn it, Janet!
Mm-hmm.
I know, I'm so quick to question you, aren't I?
To question? No, you didn't question me. No, here.
Yeah, I didn't question you. I flat out said.
I said A Princess in Theory, and you didn't say, is that the title? You said, that's not the title, Erin, and you say it every time, and it's not, and you're wrong, and you're stupid. And I wonder if you've ever even learned how to read. That's what you said.
Madam, I have never, ever besmirched your intellect.
You told me that I was stupid and that I probably was illiterate. That's what you said. That's how I remember it.
We're going to have to go back to the tape at some point. I'll tell you that much.
All right. Okay. All right. I got to get back into this book. It's been a week.
We're in part 2. We're really excited about it. So when we left off, Ledi had just gone to a fundraiser where the Crown Prince of Thesolo was the honored guest. And all of a sudden, her pal Jamal, her beau Jamal, her favorite guy, her
I was trying boning.
I was trying not to go blue, and it was hard. He starts walking up the stairs, and she finds out that he has been lying to her for nigh on a week. So she leaves dramatically. He follows her out dramatically. She cries in front of him in the elevator, and it is heartbreaking.
Question.
Lay it on me.
You know how she's getting the emails from the Crown Prince of Thesolo the whole time and blah, blah, blah. And now this clicks with her that he's the email person?
Yeah.
And so obviously she didn't respond to his emails, or she responded in a way that he didn't like, and then he tracked her down and showed up. Yeah. Got it. Got it. But like, without the emails, is this big of a deal? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, with the emails, it's like, oh, this guy's a stalker. I didn't respond, and now he showed up at my door, you know? But, like, if there hadn't been emails ever, do you think it's that big of a deal?
No.
I feel like it's not. I was thinking about it today.
But I'm a moral relativist. I'm like, do you got reasons? Do they sound good to me?
Am I
inclined to believe you? I know. You're very black and white about everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't think it's that big of a deal, but when you put it all together, he's the emailer. She doesn't know that Mrs. Garcia is actually in Puerto Rico at this point.
That is true.
Could just be a headless corpse somewhere
in this moment, because like, what happened to Mrs. Garcia? What happened to Jamal?
Where is she?
Where's real Jamal?
Where's Jamal?
In fact, wait, does she even like ever find? Does she find
never
out?
Asks about Jamal? Never.
Oh my God!
Asked if Jamal was like dumped in a dumpster somewhere,
and that could really happen. Princes can get that done easy.
He's got all the diplomatic immunity.
Oh my God. Ledi.
Friendo.
You're blinded by hotness.
You're blinded by that peen.
Oh my God.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Jamal is, in actuality, Scrooge McDuckin in $20,000. However, until we find that out...
I just feel like that's the after the credit scene of this movie. Like the credits roll, and then it's just Jamal just like diving and swimming in the gold coins that he got. In THESOLO and money.
Lucky Jamal.
Lucky Jamal.
All right.
Okay.
So the next morning, this poor woman goes home from this benefit, tries to sleep all night.
Can't.
She's alternately seething and then also sort of wondering if he came back to the apartment across the hall and maybe hoping that he knocks, because wouldn't we all?
Oh. And this is where she goes to work the next day, and I'm going to say it again. Sure, I'll do that, Ledi had been incinerated by the flames of her frustration, and I wish a motherfucker would, Ledi, had risen from the ashes. It's just the best.
I wish a motherfucker would.
It's the best Phoenix there is.
Yeah, Phoenix goals.
All right.
She shows up to work. She is exhausted. Her heart is broken. She has 0 fucks to give anybody. And Brian comes over to her because one of her coworkers has decided to once again be conveniently sick on the day that he's supposed to kill all the mice. And Brian's like, Ledi, hey, you're gonna have to do this thing. And she's like, no, I am not. Finally.
The line is italics, this motherfucker.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, this other guy is conveniently sick every time. Why don't you talk to him about it? Or how about you do it yourself? Or how about you ask this other guy who never does anything? I'm always the mice killer when this guy is conveniently sick.
She's always the everything. She's always the grant writer. She's always the mice killer. She's all, I mean, I can't believe that he hasn't asked her to sweep a floor, fucker. So he tries to pull out the you gotta be a team player thing. And I loved the moment where she looked at him and she was like, and part of being a supervisor is delegating tasks equally. You asshole.
She doesn't say that last part.
She doesn't. That was a Melody special. So
they're having this conversation and then like the lady who runs the whole thing, the lab,
comes
the department,
back.
I don't know, comes in. And she's like, hey, listen, I need one of you to...
No, she says Ledi specifically because Brian would have jumped on that.
Sure.
She's like, Ledi, you've been requested. There's a big donor. He needs a tour of the lab because he's considering donating even more money. And she's so tired at this point that it hasn't even crossed her mind that it's definitely Thabiso.
Right.
So she's like, I can't. I have way too much work to do. And Brian's like, she also has to kill all the mice. And she's like, no, remember, I just told you I am not murdering any mice today. No. And anyway, the lady who runs everything backs her up and is like, no, but seriously, though, you have to take care of this bigwig.
He specifically requested you.
Yeah,
so,
and she's like, that's
Brian,
a thing.
you go take care of all of Ledi's work, basically.
Right.
Because she's got to show this guy a tour of the lab.
Yeah, and then Ledi looks at her and she's like, so hold on. You're forcing me to do something with a man for money. There's a word for that, you know. She's like, okay, if he's not actually a stalker, I'm going to need you to do this. And this is also a moment when Ledi could have said, yeah, he's definitely a stalker.
He is a stalker. He's my ex-boyfriend.
Anyway, she doesn't. He walks into the room and she's pissed and also pissed at herself because she just wants him. She just melts a bit.
Well, not only that, he's not in a Jamal hoodie anymore. He's in all his like regal tailored finery with the shoes and the jacket and
the tailored jeans.
Yeah, and he's very princely now.
Yeah.
No, he's in like dress pants and like a patterned like of his country sort of blazer sort of thing, I think. Anyway, he's looking real good right now.
He's foxy AF. So he's like, I need a tour. And she's like, here are the microscopes, you. And this is where we murder the mice, you. And he's like, okay, I don't actually need a tour.
Yeah, and she's like, well, I'm sorry, you paid for an informational session, not a chance to weasel your way back into my life. Like, yep, tour over.
But the director of the program was like, listen, this might also be something that's really important for your career because there's something happening in Thesolo that you are gonna want to jump on. So he tells her about the epidemic in the country.
Also that he's not actually engaged. That was just a mistake made. She's a little relieved that at least he's not engaged because that was a huge lie. Yeah. And he's like, we need an epidemiologist to figure out what is going on because people are getting sick and none of our world-class doctors can figure it out. And she's like, this would be the perfect thing for my practicum that just fell apart. Yeah. Like none of my cohorts are going to be able to say they had access to a homogenous African nation with like no red tape. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And well, he also said like the best epidemiologists in the whole world are working on this thing. So they're all there. So she gets to meet all them and work with all of them. So he says the only thing she has to do is pretend to be his fiance. And he's like, that doesn't mean that you have to pretend to like me. You just have to pretend to be the person that was promised to me when you were born, which is accurate. I mean, that's not even
pretending
a lie. It's that is who she is. So he's like, just let me bring you back because a lot of the people spiritually believe that this epidemic is happening because the prince hasn't married anyone yet.
Yeah.
And it's foretold or whatever that he needs to be. So they're actually calling it the Prince's Plague at this point. It's no good. So
makes me really happy, though.
She is very reluctant, and she gives him the business for a long time.
Yeah, she does. All of her business.
She eventually says she'll do it.
Yep. And she packs her bags.
Yep.
So he goes on ahead of her. And then she is
Big
expecting to just... Why?
Well, I just feel like if you're Thabiso in this moment,
I would.
You know what's about to happen as far as the crowds and the paparazzi and the planes and the blah blah blah. And you also know she's never been on a plane because she told him that when they were talking about the subway and various modes of transportation.
And with all of his stalker antics, you'd think he'd be like 22 hours with unfettered access to Ledi.
Right.
Excellent idea.
Like, he has the opportunity to make this not as bad for her, to kind of shepherd her through the situation. And he's just like, peace, I'm going to THESOLO. Like, I don't know about that.
I think
It's
that was
better for
also
the
because
book.
the timing. No, well, and it's also because of the timing, because he'd been getting pressured to go back. All of that had already been happening.
She was like the next day. I don't know.
Oh, no, it was a week.
It was? Okay.
Yeah, she had to finish up classes and stuff, so she had to wait like a week.
I missed that.
Yeah.
I must have herbs that. But like, he just does not properly prepare her, which I think is a device for the book, because if she was properly prepared, it wouldn't be especially interesting to read. But come on, man. As a character, I was just like, Thabiso, you really fucked this up.
Not to mention that I can't believe Lakotsi wouldn't just do that out of her habit and like her persona. You know, she sent her stuff about everything else. You'd think there would be some sort of detailed schedule that she was sent.
I'm surprised she didn't even pick her out an outfit, like a Thesoloan outfit cape dress, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
She doesn't. Poor
she
Ledi
doesn't.
Gets to the airport.
Yeah, but then she gets like the royal treatment.
Yeah,
she gets this crazy stretch limo. Apparently there's a secret gate at LaGuardia called Gate R.
Gate R for royal. All right, Alyssa Cole.
I hope that's true.
No, it's not true. Come on.
No, I have decided it's true. It's in my brain.
I am sure there's a secret gate at LaGuardia that even celebrities can't get into, that are like for the rich of the rich and the royals and all that. But it is not called Gate R for royal. That's stupid. No, that's not. And Alyssa Cole, I appreciated it, but come on now. Gate R. I liked it.
Forever in my brain. That's how it is.
Fair.
I'm going to try to look for it someday. Who knows?
It's like platform 9 3/4. Gate R at LaGuardia. Anyway, so Gate R is like this beautiful champagne lounge, and like Ledi thinks she has to get to the airport 2 hours early, and she's like doing all the things she read online about air travel. Yeah. She doesn't need any of that. She's got her own plane. She freaks out with the the liaison.
Yeah. And the liaison is so sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could be that insightful with strangers.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be capable of it.
I feel like this is not the first time that this liaison has liaised a reluctant royal onto a plane in Gate R. I'm sure she's dealt with many arranged marriage ladies before who are like, I don't know if I can do this. I mean, like, Mia Thermopolis has been through there.
Kate Middleton is just upset about a hat of some sort. She's like, Kate, we will get you a new hat. I'm special ordering it right now.
Yeah, various commoners that have married princes have been through there, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay. She flies on the plane.
Flies on it.
She tries to remain hydrated. She doesn't.
It's hard.
Hydration.
I mean, I hear that.
Yeah, but she does not hydrate on that plane.
Although I will say, if I had my own bathroom on a plane, I would just be constantly chugging water. I would be using one of those sheet face masks every hour.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't have to disturb 7 people on my way to and from and wait in a line.
Oh my God, I don't give a shit anymore. I do not care.
I don't blame you.
Well, it's because I'm on planes as much as I'm on, like, regular.
Yeah.
I just, like, it's a bus now. And I'm like, if I have to just climb over just a sleeping man, I do not care. I will crawl over his face to get to that bathroom. I'm no longer I used to be that person. I used to be like, well, I want an aisle seat so that I don't have to disturb anybody in case I have to pee. I used to sip water demurely. Now I just chug it. I'm like, I can't be dehydrated on this trip anymore.
No, not at all. And actually, I will say that first of all, I've never sipped water demurely in my life. And then second of all, I was never the person. I always valued sleep more than anything else, even other people's comfort. So I don't care how small my bladder is. You're not getting me away from that window seat. You're just going to have to get up.
Oh my God. Yesterday, I was on a flight from Dallas to Anchorage. Do you know how long that flight is?
Is it 9 hours? Because seems like
it's like
be.
7 hours and 40 minutes.
Fuck that.
Horrifying. I looked at my itinerary and I was like, fuck this, like 7 hours. And then I was like, well, it's okay. I'm sure the plane will have, this plane doesn't have any plugs on it. I was so mad.
Earplugs?
No, like charging plugs to charge your phone. Because I wasn't flying Alaska Airlines that equips every plane with chargeable whatevers. And I wasn't in first class. And I'm like, this is bullshit. I can't plug in my So all my devices died. It was like as soon as I got on the phone, they were like, no.
Oh, no.
It's horrible. Anyway, sorry. All right.
Okay.
Ledi's trying to hydrate. She doesn't.
She can't. And then she also just like got in regular people clothes thinking that she'd be able to go straight from the plane
clothes.
to a car to like the palace and like, you know, the normal-ish. No. Poor thing arrives. We switched to Thabiso's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
He's standing there next to his incredibly and demurely pissed off parents. Because remember, they want him engaged to this other woman who's been like trained to be a royal wife since she was born.
What do you think the training involves? Like, what do you think it is like? It's got to be terrible, right?
It's got to be terrible. So first of all, I think it's a lot of posture. Okay. Second, I think it's a lot of anticipating other people's needs.
Yes. I imagine it to be like that special sex worker school that What's-Her-Face went to on Firefly.
A concubine school. Yes.
That's exactly what I imagine.
Exactly. I hope that there's some sort of Kama Sutra nonsense.
Probably. You know? So she gets off this plane and it's like hundreds and thousands of people cheering for her when she gets off the thing.
People have set up like vendor stations with hashtag news, royal reunion.
Yeah, news media. She peeks out and is like, whoa, shit, and like goes back onto the plane and then like comes out again with her hair a little bit better. Which I thought was... her hair was
so
all, like,
relatable.
Yeah, very
relatable.
So he goes up. She's dressed for spring and it's super duper winter there. She didn't think about hemispheres.
Well, she's dressed for Africa. Like, that was one of the most relatable moments to me. She's like, Africa, Sahara, everywhere, right?
Yeah. Nope, she's shivering
Not
real
so much,
bad.
Ledi. And this is where he starts doing the greatness, you know?
He's really turning on the charm.
Oh, God.
He walks up in all his, like, finery, and she's like, oh, hi, dear. She said with a wry smile. Nice crown. And he goes, this old thing, this is my casual crown. The formal one is 8 inches tall. Love it. So he takes his special ceremonial cape and whooshes it around her shoulders. And everyone, the thousands of people in the crowd, they swoon.
And they let out a gasp.
He notices, did we tell him about the necklace gift?
No, we did not.
I don't think we did. So you know how he wears that special oil from
IN
THESOLO? Yeah, IN oil. And she could smell it. And she was like, he smells like home. And so he bottled some and put it on a necklace for her so that she could smell that smell all the time since she liked it so much.
Yeah. And so the next morning at the laboratory, he's like, well, I haven't made a lot of progress, but she is still wearing my gift.
So there's that.
And she's still wearing it there.
Yes.
And then he ushers her. Okay, this is one of my favorite moments of the whole book. The way that Ledi stands up for herself in such a polite way all the time is fantastic. She goes over and he's like, parents, this is Ledi, my betrothed, if you'll recall the toddler you used to know. And his mom looks at her. She's like, I hope that she packed some appropriate clothing because this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And she says a couple of other super rude things. And Ledi looks at her and she goes, the first thing she says to his mother is, I was looking out the window and looking at the beautiful mountain ranges, thinking to myself, why would my parents ever leave this wonderful place? Thank you so much for clearing that up for me.
Yep.
Burn, sting, ouch. It's so good.
They're appropriately like, huh. And she's like, I would like to meet my family members now. Thank you.
Yeah.
So she meets her uncle, whose name is Alec, and her uncle's daughter, her cousin named Nyakala.
Yes.
And Alec seems kind of like a dick, but Naya seems like instant BFFs.
Real sweet. Yeah, just
Real
salt
sweet.
of the earth, perfect person.
And she's very like sickly and frail. She's had some kind of like childhood illness or something like that.
And her mother died in childbirth. Even though the mortality rate there, the maternal mortality rate there is really low. So she's like, hey, Alec is like, we'll give you a ride back to the palace. Thabiso says, no, she will ride in the royal procession. And then Ledi's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll just ride with Alec and Naya. So you can just stop worrying. And she mentions that Alec's behavior toward her is like that really cloying affection that she heard people talk about with other relatives, but she can't figure out why.
Right. We also didn't mention that Alec, the uncle, is the same finance minister that's pressuring Prince Thabiso to kind of sell everything to that evil company.
Yes. Yeah. He's the one that's been really, really pushing the sale of land. Well, the allowance for them to come in and like basically frack their country to smithereens. So the very night she gets there, Ledi has to do a reunion celebration situation. So Alec orders her a new dress, like a brand new dress immediately. And
gorgeous, beautiful, black and red dress.
Yeah. And Naya comes to her room with her and helps her get ready and like does her makeup and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they bond that way and it's really sweet. Then a couple of like Hunger Games style stylists come in and they're like, we're going to do your makeup and hair and everything.
It really is like The Wizard of Oz or Hunger Games or A Shade of Vampire.
Oh. No, the Shade of Vampire stuff comes in later. We'll get to it.
Fair.
So I love this moment with Ledi and Naya though, because
it's great.
In the Audible, it's pronounced Enya, but I've been saying Naya, and I can't stop.
It's
so I'm not
N-Y-A.
going to. I don't know.
Oh, like N, like N.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense to me. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's one of the two.
Yeah, I've been saying Naya in my brain though, so I think it'll only mess me up if I don't.
Fair.
But I wanted it to be out there in case everyone's like, it's Enya. I'd be like, sorry. Anyway. So the stylists come in and they're like, we need to do your makeup. And Ledi's like, oh, no. Oh. And so Naya immediately is like, oh, we can take all of this off. I've only been working on it for an hour, but like we can take all of it off. And Ledi's like, whoa. No, I like what you did to my face. You did beautiful work.
Beautiful makeup.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I am not going to get rid of this masterpiece that you did for me. And so she allows the stylist to do her hair in this regal updo, and it's fabulous. And then she asks them to do Naya's makeup because Naya doesn't get nice things.
No, and she's just wearing this kind of like fine, shapeless dress. But she's like, why did Naya's dad get me this incredible ball gown and his daughter's not like wearing anything nice?
Yeah.
That's shitty.
I mean, he is the epitome of shitty, really. Mm-hmm. So she goes down. He, of course, picks them up at her room by being like, we're late. You should have been out here. And she's like, dude, this is the first time you've knocked. All right, fine.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes her down. He says a couple of snide comments about Thabiso's outfit being like old school and how she needs to fix that. And then she walks up to Thabiso and his old school outfit, and it is working for her.
Looking good.
And she says that he looks at her like a man who's really looking at his betrothed, like a woman he's in love with. And she's like, no, it's just an act. We're just doing an act. It's okay. It's fine. Then the rest of the evening until they actually sit down for dinner, he's playing interference for her. He's really taking the brunt of all of the social interactions so that she can sort of catch her breath at least a tiny bit.
Yeah.
He's really caring, and he like, shuffles her around, and it's great. And then he keeps on asking her, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine.
Yeah, good.
And then, by the end of this gauntlet of people, he's like, you don't seem fine. And she goes, interestingly enough, I am not. Super tired, but I think I can make it if we sit down.
Yeah, it's very, like, at the beginning, she's like, I'm a grown-up woman. Get out of my face. Stop asking me if I'm cool, because I'm cool. I'm a lady. I know how to say hi to people. Get off my ass. And then like 15 minutes later, she's like, this is a lot.
This is really grueling.
I didn't properly hydrate. So
there is nothing clear or copious about my urine right now.
Right. So she sits down, and then first there's another little spat between him and his parents and her.
Oh, and it's real good. Yeah. They say some shit to her about how her not remembering her childhood or her parents is convenient.
Mm-hmm.
And Ledi, bless her, every cell stands
loses
up.
her shit.
Yeah, she stands up and she's like, I don't know if you know anything about the foster system, but I would not call any of it convenient.
Sure.
And Thabiso's like, hey, everybody. And his mom's like, that's right. You tell her to sit down. And he goes, actually, mother, you're the one who needs to have a seat.
She's like, I already am sitting. What do you mean? Have a seat. I'm the queen. He's like, have several seats.
That's right. Yeah. He's literally like, you will stop disrespecting your future daughter-in-law immediately.
But then the most horrifically embarrassing thing I think I've ever heard of happens to Ledi. Oh, I know. You're clueless because this isn't that embarrassing to you. It's that she falls asleep at a fancy party. I just cannot. Like, I get embarrassed if I'm like, if I'm like sleepy in a classroom, I'm like, like, I don't know. For some reason, that is the most embarrassing. But it's not written as embarrassing in the book. So I think this is just me.
Yeah.
That would haunt me for the rest of my days, that I couldn't keep my shit together to stay awake at my fancy party.
Not me.
That's what I would, I assume.
No.
Yeah.
No, especially since she wasn't even consulted on said fancy party. Like, she's doing her best, man.
I think she's making it work. Maybe like, you're probably not like a pretty sleeper either. I don't think anybody is, but like, I'm a real ugly sleeper. Like, I'm a very like,
oh yeah, drool out of any orifice possible. Frankly,
can you just imagine her sitting at her fancy table in her fancy dress and her whole head is back and she's just like, like, I mean, that's horrifying. And she's like the new princess. I'm sure there was like paparazzi being like, look at this beast. Like, this is what we have for a princess.
You know what? I think that Thabiso grabbed her before any of that could happen because he is too perfect to allow her to look anything but gorgeous.
But
while sleeping in front of others.
Explicit. Like, I don't know. And actually, I think I just made the same noise that I made like for a mating moose in an earlier episode. Anyway.
So what we're hearing you say is that you're real frisky while you sleep ugly.
I just think that the noises I make when I sleep are probably similar to a mating moose.
Fair.
All right. So she wakes up in Thabiso's arms.
Oh.
And he's carrying her back to the bedroom.
And we find out later that he's thinking to himself, this could be like your wedding night.
Yeah, this is what it would be like if we were really in love.
So he takes her back to her room and he sets her down. And some of the hottest / romantic words come out of his mouth in Everdom.
Uh-huh.
He's basically like, I know that you're really upset with me and I know that you hate me, but because she says that he reads too many. He says, good morning, Sleeping Beauty. And she says, you read too many fairy tales. And he's like, nobody can read too many fairy tales and he starts talking about happy endings. And then he's like,
I know
and
you've
I
had
know.
at least 2.
And then he drags his finger lightly down her neck and shoulder.
It's like,
And he goes, your next happy ending is waiting for you anytime you want.
like,
And
Thabiso, I'm sleepy.
Oh.
Get out of my face. Like,
Thabiso, I am now awake.
Yeah, I fell asleep at my fancy party. Like, Jesus, give me a sec.
No, I need no seconds anymore.
You'd be like, I'm a snooze. You do what you need to do.
No, this is not the red, madam. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. What stays on the Red podcast, or what happens to the Red podcast stays on the Red podcast. Sorry.
So she's like full on her toes, leaning up into him, and he walks away like a goddamn gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to bed, and the next morning she wakes up to a royal dresser, a royal consort for the sartorial.
But that night she can't sleep, and she looks at the emails that Lakotsi had sent her, and one of them was about her mother, and her mother was a scientist, y'all.
Yeah, guys.
Her mom was a scientist, and so it's not just that National Geographic cover, it's also in her soul and in her heart.
And in her DNA and in her memories.
Yes. Anyway.
Science just runs in her blood. So,
okay, so now she's got a royal dresser. I wanted to say that because it was a very emotional moment for Ledi.
Yeah,
all right.
And me. So then, the royal consort for the sartorial comes in.
This to me is the weirdest part of this book.
Why?
The ceremonial cape he designs for her.
Oh, I love it. I love everything.
I just feel like okay, all right, let's talk about it, and then
all right, I have an issue with the colors that he chose, but everything else works for me.
Aren't the colors part of it? You know,
I don't know.
Okay.
So Thessaloian culture has this blanket cape situation. I'm not super familiar with the origins, obviously, but it has this cape thing that he put on her on the tarmac, and he asked the royal lady to get her weavers together to make Ledi a special pattern. And as she looks at the pattern, she starts cackling because he remembered the story she told her the very first day they met about her being covered in gonorrhea bacillus. And he designed a pattern to fit that.
Off of what a gonorrhea looks like.
Yeah.
A little gonorrhea. And so it covers her in gonorrhea, just like her first day at the lab. I just feel like
cute.
All the epidemiologists she's going to go talk to at her brand new snazzy internship know that it's covered in gonorrhea. And I just feel like Thabiso, if his personality had been jokester, like if Thabiso's personality had been David, my David, this would be in character and hilarious and sweet. But he's not really like a prankster, you know?
He's not a prankster, but he has a good sense of humor.
Sure,
and also, I really think that it's more of an homage to gonorrhea.
It's not played as a prank. Yeah. So, like, he had a lot of other inside jokes he could have done. It could have been like, you know...
What, lemon chicken?
Sure! But, like, something else, something not gonorrhea. Like... Subway,
no, it's perfect.
It could be Subway design, like the colorful intersections of the Subway map. Or
I don't hate that.
Based on rats, they have a lot of jokes about mice and rats, like just.
Oh yeah, just rats and meat cleavers. That's what it could have been.
Shut up. But they said but the gonorrhea looks like pink bean shapes, like lima bean shapes. That's not cute.
Yeah.
That's not cute.
Well, so that's my issue with it. The background is purple, and then the gonorrhea themselves are pink. So she's just walking around in this pink and purple tapestry of coffee bean.
And all of her colleagues are going to be like, ooh, like, I don't know.
No, you don't know that. A lot of apparently the capes are really, really colorful. So I think everybody is wearing a lot of colorful stuff. So I don't think it's going to be too out of the ordinary. I loved it. She loved it, and he's adorable, and... whatever. Oh, but I did have one thing to say about this scene, because the lady walks in and she says hello in Thessaloian, and
Ledi attempts to say it back, and the lady's like, oh, wow, they weren't kidding about you being Americanized. But I just learned something really cool.
What?
About language and babies. So there's a really good chance that Ledi will get the accent back immediately.
Yeah.
Because if you hear a language in the first 6 months of your life, you can speak in the accent whenever you learn the language.
Melody, Kate talked about this on our Patreon episode that I did with me and Kate. Did you not listen to it? Yes.
No, I did listen to it. That's the weird
we
part.
talked about it. Did I cut it? I don't know. But yes, that is a true fact that Kate was like, I know this doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but I just learned this fact. It was exactly the same. It was funny.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I cut it. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I have a string cheese memory. Nope. A Swiss cheese memory.
No, let's call it a string cheese memory. To me, a string cheese memory is just like parts peel off and fall away forever.
That's correct.
Until it's nothing at all. All right.
Yep. Okay. So Ledi's going to get her accent back. It's going to be fine.
Yes. Oh, and then we have, then we have segues. God damn it.
Yeah.
The solo.
I'm so excited for it. Mostly because the antics are perfect. So Lakotsi and Thabiso show up and they're like, we got to go. We're going to go give you a quick tour and take you to the hospital so that you can see your grandparents and start on the epidemiology. And she walks outside the room and there are just segues.
But also, when she sees him, she says, oh, hey. And he's like, did you like your cape? And she's like, do you give all the girls venereal diseases or just the special ones?
And he goes, only the ones I like.
Yeah. Ooh. And Lakotsi is like, Your Highness. She's so good.
She's scandalized. I love Lakotsi. She gets on the Segway and she tries to go, and then she gets so excited. This was so relatable for me.
Wait. No. Before that, what? I'm so sorry. I just love this scene.
Tell me.
He's showing her how to use it. So he's behind her. As we know, for a Segway, you've got to lean God, Melody, you have to stop doing that dance. You've got to lean forward to make it go. And so he's showing her by standing her behind. Stop it. Oh, if only this were a video podcast. Oh, man.
So, he's standing behind her and he's just rubbing his pecs up on her.
Yeah. And then... And so she's like, okay, I've got it. And then she just like doesn't move. She just like continues to clownfish against him. And then finally, Lakotsi is like, ahem, forward, my lady. You are currently leaning back. Lakotsi didn't bother to hide the amusement in her tone. Anyway, sorry, your relatable segue moment.
No, it's so cute. I mean, I can't stop shimmying, so don't ask me to. So she goes forward, and then she gets so excited about the fact that she is doing it that she looks back to be like a golden retriever, like, hey guys, look, oh my gosh. And then, of course, she takes a detour, bangs into a statue, and falls down. So he comes over, and he gets her up, and he's like, all right, why don't we just walk to the hospital? Although... I do like that when you take a detour, it's into the goddess of lust. Because that's who she ran into. So they get to the hospital.
But isn't this where don't they take the mules out there?
No.
This is, okay, sorry.
So she meets her grandparents and they're comatose, basically.
Right.
Yeah. And he says, like, I want you to know that there's no pressure. Although we've been waiting for you for a really long time. Nobody expects them to like get up and start dancing around just because you walk into a room.
Right.
It's okay. And so she's really cute. She talks to them. And then her grandmother opens an eye and looks at her and says, Libby, I knew you would come home to us, my heart, because she thinks it's her daughter. And everyone cried. Certainly me included.
Me too.
Then... And then she immediately looks at Lakotsi and she's like, I need all this information for the past 50 years. Right. I need blah, 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 blah. And we're going to get moving.
But also, like, part of this is she has a conversation with Thabiso where she's like, are you sighing at me? Oh, no, you're scratching your neck. No. Yeah. I thought you were like, oh my God, this bitch has to go back again.
No.
That's what it looked like. Sorry. So also part of this is that she has this conversation with Thabiso where he's like, okay, this about the epidemic, and I'm trying to get this kind of resources, and we're trying to do this thing. And she's like, oh, you actually know stuff. And he's like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know stuff. I'm the prince of this country. Like, this is my life as I run this country. And she's like, oh, I just kind of thought that princes were just kind of like
rode
gallivanting around.
Strip poker.
Yeah, and his friend Johan, who's probably the star of the next book, I would assume, or a book, I would think.
Ooh, maybe.
Oh, by the way, this week's Pop Culture Happy Hour, my favorite NPR podcast, if you listen to the Patreon episodes, was the books recommended for fall, and they recommended Duchess by Default. That was one of the 5 books they recommended.
Excellent.
Anyway, so he's like, no, Johan clearly ruined that for us because he's kind of a gallivanting, whatever. And she's like, well, okay, I'm glad. I thought you were just a fuckboy with a crown, but you actually seem to care for your people. Thabiso squelched the reflexive indignation that flared in him. I don't know what a fuckboy is, but my behavior toward you was less than honorable, so I don't doubt you for thinking the worst of me. I just love that.
Yeah. Well, so that happens in the next scene from the hospital.
I'm sorry. I thought that was at the hospital.
No, that's okay. So the next morning, he comes and brings her breakfast. He wants to bring her breakfast in bed, except what he doesn't realize is that she has not slept yet because she just wants to figure it out as quickly as possible. So all of this happens, and that conversation happens because he basically asks her about her day the day before and how she was feeling after meeting her grandparents and everything. And she's like, so how was your day instead?
Right.
And one of my favorite aspects about that conversation that leads to that moment is that he's like, he tells her all about Alex. He doesn't say it is Alec, but he said that he had a meeting with the finance ministers and they were super pissed because they want to give this land over to be stripped by this company. And then the other part right after, because he says that the strip poker and the horses are like marketing part of Prince duty that you just can't super get out of.
Right.
And so when he says, I don't know what a fuckboy is, but I know my behavior toward you was less than honorable. She goes, less than honorable?
Right.
Now that's marketing.
Yeah.
Good.
And, she's like, you lied to me to get me into bed. And he's like, I lied to you. I got you into bed, but causation does not necessarily, or correlation, whatever, doesn't mean causation.
Correlation does not equal causation. Yeah.
And they have this whole conversation basically about how he lied to her, but he knows that if he would have gone in there and said, I'm Thabiso and I'm a prince and blah, 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 she never would have hung out with him. She never would have cooked with him. She never would have blah, blah, blah. And so it makes it hard to say he has regrets, even though he's very sorry that he hurt her. It's very sweet.
It is. And he owns up to the fact that there was a little piece of him that wanted to sort of punish her because his whole life he's been told that, she and her family betrayed them completely.
Right.
But then he said that would be a lie, though, because a lot of me just wanted to know you, just wanted to know the real you and wanted you to know the real me. Anyway, it's gorgeous. And she kicks him out. And he's there also to remind her about the ceremony they have that afternoon.
The purification betrothal ceremony that afternoon. He's like, yeah, it's no big deal. Just bring yourself. They just wash us or whatever. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's not. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
And can I just tell you, it sounds like my absolute dream.
Nightmare.
You show up, a bunch of ladies you don't know strip you down. They do the whole body salt scrubs. They do a really in-depth massage.
It's like a Korean spa.
Oh my God, it's like a Turkish spa. We went to a Turkish bathhouse.
Yeah, either way.
We went to a Turkish bathhouse for my bachelorette in New York. And everybody, they pooled together to get me the full body treatment. And I swear to God, this big, giant, hairy, burly Turkish dude, he whipped me with oak branches. He salt scrubbed me in places I didn't know could be salt scrubbed. It was incredible.
Oh my God, that just sounds... There's this place called Spa World in DC that my friend always kept trying to get me to go to, and I just that just sounds awful. Do you remember the episode of My Favorite Murder where they were talking about the four-handed massage and how creepy that sounds?
It sounds amazing.
One of them had gone and got a 4-handed massage. And they're like, it's so creepy that there's just like disembodied hands, just like 4-handed massage. Like, I don't know. I get the same feeling when it's like ladies you don't know, just like stripping you down and doing things to you.
I'm all about it. Nope, I will gladly give away my agency in that moment.
Okay, so that's basically what happens, and then they dress her up in some like strips of linen fabric.
Yeah,
and some
linens.
And Thabiso's there, also wearing a linen skirt when she gets to
just
the thing.
One of those, just a goddamn linen sarong.
Yep. So they get him in front of a bunch of people, and then.
Oh, man. And then the priestesses start chanting, and the whole chant is like, we thought that this woman was supposed to be our prince's betrothed. And everybody thinks that the world has been punished because of our mistake. Was it a mistake? And Ledi is just like, of course it was a mistake. I am defective Velcro. They're going to announce it right now. Nobody ever sticks to me. Nobody ever loves me. And then everybody in this one chorus comes up with a resounding no. And then the rest of the chant is all about how she belongs there and how she was chosen, how she's pure-hearted, how she's just perfect for their kingdom and their prince and blah. And then they dance.
Well, Thabiso starts dancing. He starts doing the hips.
Yeah.
He starts doing the tribal hip
He starts doing the park dance that he showed her already.
At the park. That's like super sexy that she laughed at, and it's like the dance of the mating dance of his ancestors, and then
it's thousands of years old.
She's supposed to start doing it back, so she's like, okay,
choreographed by Ngoka herself.
I'm doing this back, I guess, and they like go toward each other with this dance. It's super sexy.
Then everybody gets silent, and Thabiso goes down on his knees and bows in front of her, and the priestesses are like, she has accepted his suit. It is now done. The purification and betrothal ceremony is complete. And the stars align, and there's goddamn comets in the background.
And now they are engaged in the eyes of Ngoka, the goddess.
Yeah.
When he kneels, she could feel his breath on her toes, something so intimate that it sent a shiver up her body.
Yeah, it did.
All right.
Oh, and her incredibly exfoliated toes, am I right? Just brilliant. So this is where they decide to go up to the village where people started getting sick.
He has a chat with his mom first where she's like, are you ready to like gamble your whole future for this chick? Is that what you want? And he's basically like, yes. Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, he's like, also get with the program.
So he goes down to Ledi's room. He goes from there. So he's all hyped up from the ceremony. He goes and talks to his mom. He's full of indignation with his mom. Then he goes down to Ledi's room. He knocks on her door. She's buried in books trying to save the lives of her grandparents and many people that have this plague. And she's like, I'm busy. So unless there's an emergency, and he's like, oh, there's an emergency, and like gets up on her. It's pretty good. His fingertips sinking into her curves as he pulls her towards him, dropping his head, angling for her lips, but stopped just before their mouths touched, resting his forehead against hers. Can I? He asked. And so, yeah, I don't remember.
And so she goes, this is novel. Guys don't usually ask after the first time. Frustration tautened within him. I'm a fucking gentleman, Naledi. Gentlemen don't assume, they ask. So, can I kiss you?
And she goes, wow, no pressure at all. And he goes, oh, there's a ton of pressure. And he realized how ridiculous the line sounded without the part he left unspoken. In my pants. He wasn't entirely a gentleman. Ledi huffed a breath. In your pants? She asked. And then the tension deflates and they laugh and talk about how he's not very smooth. But then they talk about going up to the village.
Yes. So they start getting everything together. They do not kiss.
They do have a little like discussion about how he just likes her. He likes her, betrothal or not. He really likes Ledi. And she's like, well, that hadn't even occurred to me previously. So good to know, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the next chapter is she goes, Ledi thought daily subway commutes had prepared her to handle any means of transportation, but she had been mistaken.
Yes.
She readjusted herself on D'Artagnan, the donkey that was conveying her to the village.
Yep.
Oh, D'Artagnan the donkey.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think I have a new theory.
Yes.
Every time I read a donkey's name in some form of literature, it's not only hilarious, but it's also perfect.
You love donkeys.
I didn't think I felt any kind of way about donkeys, honestly. But for some reason, a donkey with like a name other than Dolly or something like that, like something other than like a barnyard name. Because in Outlander, the donkey's name is Clarence.
Right.
And he's just the loudest. He's actually a mule, I think. But it's, oh, God, D'Artagnan the donkey. So they go up to the village and she immediately gets to work.
Right.
She is in the clinic. Everybody is also in the, oh, no, she pops into a shop.
Right.
And there's a woman who's like talking up Alec and sort of being mean about Thabiso. And it really seems like there's like a faction of the village that believes that Alec has their best interests at heart and the crown doesn't. That
right.
they want to keep things incredibly stratified and for the villagers to have much less. And as she's touring this village, she's like, there's heated sidewalks and there's like, this isn't a slum by any stretch of the imagination.
And there's an orphanage there that's like beautiful and all the kids are taken care of and it's like a home and it's not like a foster system like we have in America. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Thabiso says that they put it in the middle of the village because everyone needs to take care of these children, not just the people that are charged with taking care of them. Just, I die. So she goes to the clinic. People are there and they're freaking out, even though none of them are actually showing symptoms. But she talks to the epidemiologist that she's with, and they get this cool new tech that she's kind of swooning over. And she spends the whole day working in the clinic. And then afterwards, also throughout this whole process, she's been taking these supplements that Naya has given her. Because she's really, really tired. And she keeps talking about jet lag and how much more serious it is than she thought it would be because of other people's retellings of it. And she's also been drinking a lot of the tea that Alec has given her.
Yes.
So she goes to Naya and Alec's house afterwards. Thabiso takes her there and they chat. She and Naya bond some more. And then Thabiso is like, we really need to like get going if we're going to get off the mountain.
Right.
And Alec really wants them to stay. And Naya like shuffles them out as fast as she possibly can. So she gives her some more of those supplements. And then Alec also sends her with a thermos of tea. And they get going. They get back on D'Artagnan. And D'Artagnan is ferrying them down the mountain. Oh, also they've both been on the same donkey.
Right.
So she's been like accidentally clown fishing all up on him.
Yeah.
And it's really good. But then the weather turns. Things start getting snowy.
Inclement weather. Close proximity. Snowed in. Sleeping in a cave.
That's right. Nobody needs their own room because then they won't bang. Okay.
Sorry.
So
I like the idea of being like, is there a second room in this cave? Or will we be sleeping in the main cave area? One thing they didn't talk about in this, so they huddle up in this cave, they make a fire, whatever.
Yeah.
They have some protein bars. Listen, how is this cave ventilated? The whole time I was just like, boy, I bet it's smoky in there. Was there some kind of like there was no like, Thabiso found a place to make the fire where there was some adequate ventilation in the top of the cave. You know?
So
I don't know.
Here's what I assumed. And I probably just filled in the blanks for myself because I don't want to have a logistics mind. So here's what I did. They talked about how the opening of the cave, it's a pretty small cave, And the opening of the cave was sort of patched over with one of their cloaks or a blanket or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So my assumption was that they made the fire very close to the entrance. And then there was like a top area of the opening that they left undone. So like they didn't cover the whole door. They just put it down a little bit.
That fire's not, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I was just like, gosh, it doesn't sound fresh in there. Sounds real smoky. But
well, then it gets not fresh in other ways. Because
it gets real ripe because they haven't showered for a while. They're going to be doing it. That's not what you meant,
and they're going to be slapping their parts together. So
this is our second cave sex of the podcast. Welcome.
It is, and this one was much more believable. Oh, okay.
Because
nobody has multiple abdominal wounds.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Okay. So they start talking, and he... do you remember the actual content of the conversation? Because it is a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
And it's all about, like,
well,
how...
First, he feeds her. That's important. He gives her some
that
foods
is important.
that he's stowed away. And he says, you may detest me, but you can never say that I let you go hungry. And it's like goat sandwiches. And she's like, delicious.
Yeah, something that Naya made.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells her all about how she's a really good cook because her mom died when she was really young. And so she's basically had to be the woman of the house because Alec never remarried or anything.
And that's when she finds out that her mother, Naya's mother, and Thabiso's mother were all very best friends. Her mother left and Naya's mother died. And Thabiso's mother was pissed. And that's why she's so mean to Ledi.
Exactly. So Queen Ratmala has really just been tragically heartbroken over her girlfriends for the past 20 years. And it's actually really sad. But yeah.
I found it.
Yay.
She says, they're talking about their mothers having been friends, and so she was chosen as his betrothed because her mother was Thabiso's mother's best friend. And so she says, is there a reason why you never replaced me when my family left? Like with Naya, for example. She understands your people, and she knows what it's like to have unwanted responsibilities. Thabiso lay on his back with his hands beneath his head. He shrugged, and she could see his lips purse in thought, despite the obstruction of his beard. It is not wise to second-guess the priestesses, he said, and then turned his head back toward her. And besides, I always hoped you'd come back. I believe in fairy tales, remember?
Oh. So they start talking more, and Ledi is sort of quiet and thinking things through. And then he looks over at her, and he says, "Are you cold?" he asked in a low voice. Ledi stared into his fire-filled eyes and nodded. She was actually warm. Her body had heated under his gaze. She should have said no. She was fine. She'd always been fine. But she was tired of always being fine when fine meant alone. So this lie was okay. So he stretches out behind her. The rest of the conversation is filled with a lot of like, is this okay? And her being like, you can come closer. You know, all the good stuff. And then as they have this excellent encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that it starts is they both start undressing really quickly when they decide that it's on TM. Mm-hmm. And then I think he says something like, have a seat. And so she goes to straddle him. Yeah. She goes to straddle his waist. And
he's like,
he lays down,
nah.
Pulls her hips up, and he's like, wrong seat.
Ooh,
girl.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of sitting on his face action that I really enjoyed.
It's very on brand, Melody. Oh, okay. So, yeah, that happens. And the other thing is, like, there's so many good things in here. There's so many good things with their conversation. But one of the things I really liked about this sex scene is that it's very cave. Like, it's not as if once they start doing it, they don't care at all about the caveness of, they're like skinning their knees. It's still super cold cave, which I
It's
really
realistic.
appreciated it from like a logistics standpoint, because if it would have been not, I would have been
all
like,
of a sudden
oh,
I had
and
felt
now
like
it's
they
just
were on a feather bed.
blankets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically by the end of this, they decide that they are going to be engaged for real. And there's a lot of him telling her like, you're not alone anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And God, it's just gorgeous. I don't even know what to say about it other than read it immediately. So the next morning, they're in the car with Lakatsi going back to the palace.
Right.
Lakatsi is yelling at them because he tried to get word to them about the fact that like they were going to be in a cave all night. I'm not sure if it actually worked or not, or if like the messages got
I'm
delayed.
not sure. Yeah.
But people were incredibly worried until the morning.
So the parents are really pissed at him, and they're like, not only are you betrothed to this, and you're like shirking your responsibilities to your country by not marrying this other more hotter lady, and
and Ledi hadn't touched the tea the night before.
Right.
And so she's trying to psych herself up to see his parents and how pissed they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's just caffeinating. She's like, I've got to get this tea in my body.
Right.
So she drinks the entire thermos in a really short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So as they're getting out of the car, he's like, hey, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine. We've got to do this. So they go over to the parents and they say all of the shirking duties stuff.
Right.
And then they usher Shanti,
his new betrothed,
other fiance out.
And look at this
like,
bitch. Wait, can I?
Oh, yeah. Please.
His mother held out her hand, and a beautiful young woman stepped out from the group behind her. She was slim, tall, regal. Her hair fell in wavy ringlets down her back, and her features could have been sculpted from onyx by one of the masters. Shanti. And also, like, so Ledi's hair is very, like, natural. She always talks about pulling it back into a poof ponytail. And then when the hairdressers came, we skipped over this. But when she came in, they were like, we're here to do your hair and makeup. And she's like, I'm good makeup-wise because Naya did it. And also, my hair is done. And she was basically like...
nobody is touching my hair with a hot comb. Thank you very much.
For Thabiso or for anybody. There's no one on this earth that could hot comb my hair. So I thought it was very telling that Shanti had this like long, silky like hair down her back. Yeah.
Yeah. And as a curly girl, I really, really respect that because there's no wedding that can get me to curl my hair anymore. There is not a single event where you are going to put a hot implement in my hair. No fucking way.
Fair.
But yeah, so then Shanti immediately comes out and she's like, I've been trained since I was birthed. And I would love to show you what a beautiful, subservient wife I can be to you. She actually like uses those words.
Oh yeah, she says she's trained in the womanly arts. Like, what is that? Man. Blowjobs or like cleaning or like what?
I don't know what it means.
Womanly art.
I think I kind of want to know.
But
I think I would be trash at it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're probably if it's blowjobs, we're probably
things.
Great already. But
no comment.
I said probably. I think we're probably great at some of the womanly arts. Maybe art. Yeah. Maybe it's art. Maybe that's a womanly
Well, then I
art.
am fucked in that way.
Maybe it's podcasting.
Whoa. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Maybe Shanti's like, have you heard my podcast? It's a great
have you
womanly
heard it?
Art. But I think it's blowjobs. Like, I think that's what she's talking about. I think she's talking about sex stuff, which is real gross.
I mean, I wouldn't have hated a Kama Sutra class at some point in my upbringing. Not upbringing. Okay. Nope, that came out wrong. I meant in the evolution to becoming my 31-year-old self.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all happening, and Ledi's like, oh, she really looks like a princess. Your mother has a point. And he says, there's only one person I'd consider for my wife, and we're already betrothed. And then Ledi says, who? Is there another woman? And he's just like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I'm
Do you
talking
remember
about you,
all
of
the
course.
sex
Remember
we just had in the cave?
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I trust you, Jamal. You wouldn't hurt me. Like, she's clearly being super duper weird. And then all of a sudden, she just blows chunks all over the royal queen of the Solo. Just
right all over her shoes.
Yep. And everything. So
and then passes out.
Passes out. And so Thabiso picks her up and starts running to the infirmary with her in her arms. He's calling Portia, the nurse, all of that.
Yeah, so they get there. He doesn't want to let her go. And they're like, sire, you have to put her down. You have to get away from her. Otherwise, we cannot help her. So he finally puts her down. She wakes up. And Portia is by her bedside. Portia, her best friend, who really, really hurt her by accidentally setting her up to find out that Thabiso is a lying dick face.
And they have not talked since.
Yeah. Portia has tried to send her texts. She's been calling. And Ledi has just not, she just could not, she didn't have the bandwidth to be able to deal with it at the moment. So she hasn't spoken to Portia.
Spot on. And also the fact that Thabiso's reaction was like, get Portia, get the nurse.
Yes.
I'm like, that's some
good
great
dude
boyfriend material right there.
Oh, yeah. Sign me up.
So, yeah, she's there. They apologize for all their stuff.
Up.
Yeah. And then
great.
He was so worried. He was a mess. Oh. He didn't know what was going to happen. He thought she had the plague. Blah, 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 blah,
and
blah.
This is the best part. She's like, well, you know, Shanti's always waiting in the wings. So
yeah, don't worry about it.
Fine.
If I kill over, you've got like the hottest woman in all of Africa over there, trained in sex for you. So don't worry too much.
Yep. Yeah. Then she starts putting some pieces together, y'all.
Yeah. Okay.
She's like,
I'm going to need your help. I don't know if I herbsed, but I tried not to herbs. And then I went back and I read it again and I was still confused. But I also like really needed to get this done before the podcast. And then I forgot while I was at my trip this week. So, okay, I want you to explain it to me. And then I will probably have questions because I had some logistical problems.
I am so here for you.
Okay.
On this.
All right. Good.
All right. So I'm going to start with the actual plague itself and the way that happened. And then I'm going to go back and explain why it happened.
Oh my God.
Cool?
I love how you're just like holding my hand and you're just like, come with me, baby Erin. Like I will help you with this. Thank you.
I'm going to signpost
this is what
shit
I
for
need
you.
in my life. Signpost, give it to me. All right, let's go.
Okay. So the Eng plant is really, really good for medicinal and a lot of different purposes, right? Like it's sort of a use all in
smells
THESOLO.
Great. It's like the tea tree oil of Africa, which is
there
probably already the tea tree oil of Africa. Don't know where tea tree oil comes from.
Mayhaps.
Yeah.
So they use it for perfume if it's an oil. They use it in teas. A lot of their teas are made with the Eng flower as well. The housekeepers will put it on the pillows because it's supposed to help with bad dreams, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, you're supposed to only take it in certain dosages, like most herbs.
Sure.
If you overdo it on any kind of herb, it's just like ODing on a lot of pharmaceutical medicines.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alec, the tea that she drank was an incredibly concentrated version of Eng tea. And what he had been giving her since she arrived was a little bit less concentrated and in smaller doses because she didn't have an entire large thermos to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she was jet lagged at first.
Mm-hmm.
But then what she was experiencing after that were reactions to slightly higher dosages of this Eng plant because she doesn't have a tolerance to it. So in this case, she reacted incredibly quickly and her body expelled it via blowing chunks on an actual queen because she doesn't have any tolerance to it.
Sure.
Whereas her grandparents and all the rest of the people that have gotten sick had a rather large tolerance to it. So Alec was able to poison them in a way that made them OD more slowly because then the doctors couldn't figure it out. So also during this entire time, Alec, the finance minister, has been bringing in more tea for them to drink. And nobody thought anything of it because it's like, you know, good stuff from the home village that a powerful man was bringing in and just keeping them poisoned.
Okay.
Now, the reason that he wanted to poison them was because at first he needed everybody off of that mountain. He needed everybody out of the village.
Mm-hmm.
And his parents had kind of gummed up the works a bit because they had partnered with the crown to do all of the renovations in the village and make it a great place to live.
Right. But the thing is that mineral that they're going to gut everything from
Yes.
is under that village. So what he wanted for that deal to go through, he wanted that deal to go through. So he wanted everybody to be like, this village is all sick anyway. Let's relocate anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. He wanted to create an epidemic that would cause people to blame the earth underneath them.
Right.
So that they would want to fuck off.
Right.
And instead, everybody decided to go with the narrative that Thabiso fucked everyone over by not choosing a wife. And so he was like, this goddamn princely plague narrative is really messing with my scheme here. But he was just going to ride it out and make it worse until finally it happened for him.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the how and that is the why.
Okay.
And here we are. So they put all of that together. And then Thabiso for the next 2 weeks has that motherfucker arrested. He goes on trials. He does all the things because Thessaloian justice is swift and sure, bitches.
I just feel like if too much eggplant made people sick, they would have figured it out by now.
I know. I had a bit of a problem with that too because it is such a staple.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why or how
That's like the first
didn't
thing
figure that out.
idiots do is be like, oh, medicine good, more medicine better. And when I say
Right.
idiots, I've overdosed on gummy vitamins. So I'm not trying to say like, look at these dummies. But I just feel like if too much of this oil made people sick and they recognize the symptoms of it.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
No,
cool.
I completely, I understand what you're saying because especially since it had been a staple in their culture for like, I don't know, hundreds of years, ?
Sure.
You'd think somebody would have fucked it up before this.
Right.
But, who knows? Or he might have added something else that I didn't recall.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay.
So he, then they find out that the reason, they don't know the exact specifics, but they know that her parents left because Alec was trying to bring them into some sort of plot against the king and queen.
Right. They don't know what the plot was.
No, and he won't tell them.
Right.
But they know, they found like a note or something like that from her parents that was like, we're not going to go along with what you say, but we will leave and never return.
Right.
Per your wishes. So at the very least, Queen Ratmala knows that it wasn't, or Ramatla, I can't remember how it was spelled.
Well,
Anyway.
Ledi's mom didn't leave because she was a bitch
No.
friend and fucked off and was
She was
like
protecting them.
Yeah, she was trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So happily ever after.
Well, but it's even better than happily ever after.
Why?
And I will tell you how.
Because she's a princess?
No, because
Oh my
she...
God. Melody just took down her hair. She's about to shake it out. Ooh.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. So she is thinking to herself, all right, we kind of said we were together. Sure. But also, I got sick, and in the last 2 weeks, I've barely been able to see him. We don't know what together means.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he expects from me.
Sure.
I know that I've got to get my classes together.
Sure.
Like, I've got all this shit to do. And so she's a little worried
Mm-hmm.
that it's not going to work out after all. And then he comes to her suite, and they start talking. And he's like, well, I know you're going back to New York soon. And she's like, oh, yeah.
Brr.
And he's like, but there are so many princely duties that need to be taken care of in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you like a view of Central Park because Lakotsi has found a beautiful brownstone for us. And you can finish up all of your studies and become the best epidemiologist that ever epidemiology.
Just like your mom.
Yeah. And I'll be there to support you. And then someday we can return to Thesolo, husband and wife and king and queen, and we can just do it together.
Uh-huh.
It's even better because he's going to support her dreams.
Uh-huh. Happily ever after.
Happily ever motherfucking after.
It's so good. So good. So
And
good.
I hope we get little scenes with them back in
Oh,
New
I'm
York
sure.
for a Duke by default.
I'm sure. That's the whole reason they went
Needs it.
back. I mean, for him to be like a good hero, but also for that reason. There's no way she's not a character in Portia's book. Come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to read that book.
I assume it's got to be that Playboy prince, right? Let me look forward to the
no, he's like a blacksmith.
Oh.
Portia gets another
Somebody's
internship.
got to get with Johann.
I hope it's Naya. Ooh, Naya comes to visit.
Oh, you think Naya's going to get a book? That would be great.
That would be amazing. But
she
I don't
gets
know.
that Playboy, that ginger Playboy. That would be awesome.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right. He is like a Scottish blacksmith. This guy on the cover is not a ginger.
No.
Okay.
But he's got a Scottish accent,
yeah,
which I
fine by me.
get with.
This guy's fine by me. I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I have thoroughly enjoyed my first interlude in the world of Alyssa Cole.
Oh, hugely. I can't wait to read her spy book, too.
Well, I was looking like in the recommendations in the back of the Kindle book, and like all of these like Civil War and like all these historicals, these look great. So I'm psyched. Yeah. Because I really do. I like an America Times much more than an England Times, which is all of American history.
Oh boy, we haven't yet read an America Times.
No, we're gonna. Well, we have a Western Times coming up and an America Times eventually here soon, which are the same kind of. They have over. It's a Venn. Listen, someday I'll give everyone like a Venn diagram flowchart.
I really thought it was at least going to be like a Civil War Times, a Revolutionary War Times.
So America Times are like American history. That's when you have like a war in the background. There's like there's a special American history moment happening. That's America Times. Western Times is like it could be any time frame really, but you're doing frontier stuff. So like say it's 2018, but you're in the bush in Alaska, that can still be Western Times. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry.
No, there's got to be cowboy boots for Western Times.
Yeah, that's fine.
Who wears cowboy boots in Alaska? That sounds stupid.
What do you think the usefulness of cowboy boots is? Like cowboy shit, right?
No, I feel like everything in Alaska needs tread on it.
So a lot of cowboy boots have tread on them necessarily.
False. No, they just have a heel.
True. Some have heels, but wait, I think I'm confusing like work boots, ranch boots.
I'm talking cowboy boots.
A lot of people up here wear cowboy boots.
Dancing boots.
Well, those are just for show. I'm talking about like work boots that you need on the frontier. Why? How did we get here? What are we talking about?
Because I don't believe that Alaska Times is also Western Times. I can't
There's
believe
no such thing as Alaska Times. It is eclipsed by Western Times.
No, but you're not driving any cattle anywhere in Alaska.
Yeah, there's cattle in Alaska.
You don't drive on places.
I don't know.
No, I've been on a cattle drive. It wasn't in Alaska, so
that's the reason why? Oh my God, I'm Googling right now. You start talking about your lady love, I'm Googling up cattle drives in Alaska. I know for a fact that there's a cattle ranch in Alaska because I did a will for somebody who had a cattle ranch in Alaska, so
no, boom. Listen, cattle ranches are fine, but I don't think you get on horses and drive on places.
Since when are you the expert on the place that I live and you have never been? Do I come up to you and tell you what there is
talking about
and is not in New York City?
No, because I don't live in New York City. Motherfucker!
Well, you know what I'm pretty sure they have there is cattle drives, and I'm going to stick to that. I know everything there is to know about that city, and I'm pretty sure I haven't been on a cattle drive, and it wasn't in New York City, so that makes me an expert on it.
You should see the amount of eye rolling Erin just did. I honestly think she's dizzy.
Well, I just felt like you understood logic and argument, and it turns out it's not true. Oh, man. Cattle drives in Alaska. All right.
Can't find anything, can you?
Yes, I can. I'm finding so much shit. You don't even, like, the problem, the reason I haven't said anything is that it's so much information.
It doesn't exist?
Cattle drive starts the equestrian season in Soldotna. Click.
Soldotna sounds like a made-up place.
Soldotna, that's not made up. I've been there. I've been to their hospital. Well, it's not in Soldotna, but...
Did you go to their ER too? Erin, you gotta...
I can't remember if the ER
stop
was
going
in
to every ER you encounter. It
wasn't for me, but I've been to Soldotna, though. Okay.
My lady love.
It is, however, unique for Alaska. It says so in the article, but...
Unique for Alaska. Mm-hmm. A one-time event that happened. And now all of a sudden...
It doesn't say one time, it just says it's rare here.
Okay, honestly, I've been holding on by my fingernails this week. So my lady love is take a break when you need to. And so my lady love is this lesson that I saw a video on. So this teacher brings out a jar. He fills it with ping pong balls and looks at the class and says, "Is it full?" And they say, yeah, it's full. And then he takes a bunch of jelly beans and he starts pouring those into the jar, and they start filling up all the crevices. And he says, is the jar full now? And they're like, obviously, it's definitely full. And then he takes sand and he puts a bunch of sand into the jar and lets that sift down. And he's like, okay, is it full now? And they're like, yes, definitely, final answer, full. And then he takes water and he puts water all up in the jar. And then it like sifts through and blah, 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 blah. And the point is that the ping pong balls are the must-haves. They're your food, they're your shelter, they're your love, they're your happiness. They're the things that are essential to your being. And then the jelly beans and then everything else are just superfluous. Like the jelly beans are the nice car, the this, the that. And the moral of the story is, if you start with sand, there's not going to be any room for the things that really, really give you gratification and that you actually need. So try to pay attention in your life to what is necessary to you being a healthy, well-adjusted person. And I've been having a hard week. I've been really overwhelmed, and I've been getting into this like anxious spiral where even the smallest things stress me out, and they usually have to do with, like, I've barely been on the cult this week, which is weird. Or actually maybe like the last 2 weeks, because everything just feels overwhelming. And that's not to say that the cult should ever, take that as like, don't stop doing what you're doing, because I still look and I love it, but I cannot get myself to engage, because I feel like if I engage with one person, then I'm obligated to engage with everyone.
Right.
And I can't right now. So pay attention to the ping pong balls and hold on to those and allow yourself to wait and figure out the sand and the water and the jelly beans later.
I'm really glad the metaphor of this jar was not, you can always fit more things into your life. Do not ever feel like your schedule is full, because you can always shove some jelly beans in there, and then some sand, and then some water. And if you truly feel like you're exhausted, maybe like a little more water. Just stamp it down there with like some kind of an implement. Crush the ping pong balls if you need to make more room. That's how I've been feeling a little lately.
No, that's definitely your life.
Yeah, and that's I was like, oh, I get this metaphor. It's
like the productivity meme that is following you everywhere you go.
Oh God, it's just haunting me. Mine. I just got these new little lipsticks from Bare Minerals that are like a matte little lipstick. Then they're made with cocoa, like raw cocoa powder. And so it's a matte lipstick, doesn't dry out your lips. And I know people say that a lot, but like I've never experienced one that actually does not dry out my lips. It's also not like crazy long lasting, but I don't like when it's crazy long lasting, because then your lips peel and then you've got like you get weird lip when they're super long lasting, at least in my experience. So anyway.
Oh, I'm all about a stain.
Yeah, but like I got a lot of crevices in my lips. They don't look great. Anyway, these look great. But the point is, every time you put them on, they're made out of cocoa powder. So it's kind of like you get a little chocolate moment. It's great. Oh. So they're like the matte lip. They're the new Bare Minerals matte lip. Newish.
Nice.
They're great. All right.
Nice.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
You can find us. Twitter, heaving_Buddhisms. Buddhisms. Yep. Try it. See if it's us. At Heaving Bosoms on Instagram. Heaving Bosoms Podcast on Facebook. Heaving Bosoms Podcast Geriatric Friendship Cult is the fan group. And what else? Heaving Bosoms Podcast at gmail.com. Anything else? Were you going to comment on the link I sent you to Alaska, the Last Frontier, Discovery.com horseback cattle drive?
Her fucking rumph. Her fucking rumph.
Yeah.
It was a one time that it happened. And you're like,
that's not even the one in Soldotna. That's somewhere in the interior.
This is my job now. I am now a cattle driver because I live in Alaska. My name is Erin McCarthy.
Yeah, I just signed up. While you were doing that metaphor, I was like, you know what I could probably fit into my life? Some cattle drives. Shove that in there somewhere.
Stamp it down. Okay, no, I think that's good.
All right.
And keeping a badass.
And love yourself as much as you love Kama Sutra classes in your upbringing.
Whoopsies.
Melody loves that. Teach your kids early.
Oh, no.
No.
You're misrepresenting me.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. Bye, Mel.
I'll
Love you.
talk to you later,
All right.
you troll.
You too.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.